How to install and set up UnrealIRCd. This tutorial uses a VPS installed with Ubuntu, but most operating systems are supported, such as Debian, Windows, OS X, and FreeBSD. First, go to UnrealIRCd.org and click on the documentation link on the left. At this point, I'd just like to recommend that you bookmark this page, as it will come in super useful in the future. Since we're installing on Ubuntu, we'll select Installing from Source over here on the left. Lucky for us, UnrealIRCd has really easy to follow documentation. Now we can follow this guide. To install the prerequisites, download our file, and install UnrealIRCd. As root user, just copy and paste the right prerequisites for your operating system into your terminal, press enter, and let the magic begin. Next, add a new user, and call it UnrealIRCd. From here on out, we will install and run everything as this new user, so create it and switch users before you continue. If you forget this step, you will run into problems down the line when trying to install or run. UnrealIRCd will not let you run it as root for safety reasons. For more information about why you shouldn't run things as root user, click the link on the page. For this next part, you should make sure you're in the home directory for our new user. Copy and paste the command into your shell to download a compressed file containing installation files for the latest UnrealIRCd. Make sure to make a mental note regarding the number of which version it was that you downloaded, which is displayed after you downloaded the file. Next, we need to extract the contents of the folder using the version number that we took note of. This tutorial is installing version 6.1.4, so we need to modify the next commands to mention version 6.1.4. Now that we've extracted the contents of the compressed file and changed into the new directory we've created, we need to run the configuration script. This will ask you a few questions. You can press enter to accept the defaults, but they're still worth paying attention to in my opinion, because I think, for example, remote includes, which allows you to host some of your configuration remotely, is a good option to have later on, especially when running a network of servers. Once you've run that, the next step is to type make install. This can take around 5 minutes or so, depending on your system hardware, so you might want to go grab a coffee and take a few moments to tell your favorite pet how clever you are for getting this far in the installation process. Now that you've successfully installed UnrealIRCd like the absolute boss that you are, it's time to configure it. To do this, we go into the build directory in the user home directory, called UnrealIRCd, unless you changed it to something else earlier when running the configuration script. Change directory again into the directory called conf, and run the following command to copy the template configuration to make it ours. Once we've done this, we can edit that configuration file. If you have access to your machine via FTP, you may want to use your favorite text editor, but for this tutorial I will use Nano for editing the configuration file. The documentation on the website tells you the syntax and style of configuration UnrealIRCd uses, and even has a whole guide to all the settings you can use in your configuration file and a link on the left. You should take a few minutes to read about the configuration file syntax, as it's crucial to get it right in order to not mess up your configuration file and, well, UnrealIRCd will just refuse to run. These pages are more good recommendations to keep in your bookmarks, so you can easily change something later on. The mark of a good administrator is not trying to memorize everything, but to memorize where to find everything. So bookmark it. You can trust me, I'm a tutorial. So first things first, in our configuration file, if we scroll down a little, we will see a block called Me. This block is here to name and describe your shiny brand new chat server. Inside the Me block, give your server a name by changing the value for the item called name to be the IRC domain you want to show to people when they connect to your server. This should generally match a DNS record, but it's not required to match for the server to run, and you can still connect to it by connecting to the right IP address. The value for the item called info should be a name and short description of your server or network. The last item in the block called SID, this is short for server ID. If this is your first time installing UnrealIRCd, you don't have to worry about changing this, but if you are planning to link another server to create a network, you'll have to change this value to be something else. This is because the network uses it internally as a server's unique identifier, so it must not be the same as any other server on your network, and it must start with a number and be exactly 3 characters long. Next, there are 3 main things that you need in order to get UnrealIRCd running. I'll show you just these, and I'll make another video regarding configuring your server. The reason for this is because there are so many configuration options for UnrealIRCd, so many ways you can customize your server, that explaining even the most common configuration options will take a long time. This tutorial will just get you up and running, so don't forget to subscribe for future UnrealIRCd tutorials, tips and tricks.